Okay, welcome back everybody. Thank you for coming back so promptly. Welcome to this afternoon's session. We've got a great afternoon in store for us. I'd just like to welcome some of our external partners and stakeholders this afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to welcome His Worship the Mayor of North East Lincolnshire and the Mayoress of North East Lincolnshire. We're delighted to have you here with us this afternoon. And there are a number of people that have kindly joined us this afternoon, from the Chief Exec of the Northern Lincolnshire and Goole Hospitals Trust to the portfolio holders from the Health and Wellbeing Board in North East Links Council. And we're really pleased and delighted to have them here this afternoon. I think it gives them a good opportunity to look through the window of Care Plus Group and see the range of services that we deliver. So we're really delighted to welcome them. I'd also like to welcome, particularly, I'm going to embarrass somebody in a moment, so I'll ask forgiveness in advance, but I met three delightful young ladies over the lunchtime from the University College of North Lincolnshire with their tutor, I think would be the right word. Girls, could you just stand up and give us a wave, please? And I'll see if my memory... We welcome you. And I think my memory serves me that one of you wants to be a physiotherapist, one of you wants to work with children, and the other one, shout it out for me. That's it, psychiatry. I knew I'd remember. Thank you, girls. Welcome particularly to you. It's really important, isn't it, that we have an eye to growing our own for the future. It's really difficult to, to engage staff. We're at an end of a very long motorway. We do need to look to the future in terms of getting young people at a very early age into health and social care employment. And if those young ladies are anything to go by, I'm confident that when I'm growing old that I'll have people like you to look after me. So welcome. Thank you very much. Okay, did say when I took up the role of chair we're going to do things differently, and I guess this afternoon's an example of that. So we're going to just acknowledge some staff now that my colleagues on the board and I feel that have been a bit of an unsung hero for the organisation. People that are not always in the shop window at the front, but are doing really fantastic work. And they'll be surprised because they've got no idea that we're going to acknowledge them this afternoon. So it's our first time doing this, and it goes without saying that we absolutely recognise the hard work and effort that you all do on a day-to-day basis. As I've said this morning, the efforts that you've made throughout the pandemic have been just unbelievable, and really conscious that we're working as a health and social care system, aren't we? We must draw closer to our partners and work in a more joined up way so that the members of our communities get great care wherever they access that care. So our Unsung Heroes Awards, the first one that I've got in front of me is somebody close to our hearts in Care Plus Group who's embraced getting people back into employment, has embraced working across North and North East Lincolnshire in terms of employability and Kickstart, and what a fantastic effort that's been. And to reach even further away from Northern Lincolnshire down into Surrey, so that the DWP have looked at Care Plus Group as the gateway organisation for Kickstart is nothing short of remarkable. The employability team have delivered over and above consistently, and they are really ably, capably and motivated by Sharon Stead. So I'd like you to join us, please. Sharon. Okay. Thank you. Well done. You'll know that since I've taken up this role, I've been making a monthly award called the Chairman's Extra Mile Award, and for September I surprised Sharon on Monday morning with the Extra Mile Award for the work that she's done. She did tell me that she'd also passed a Mary C. Cole Leadership Award, and she said, I hope good things come in threes, because this is 2 of them. So there you go, there's your 3rd. Okay? And the next award isn't to an individual, it's to a group of our staff who throughout the pandemic and before have worked tirelessly to protect us all. They've been in every department, I think, across Care Plus Group. They've made sure that throughout the pandemic that we have been protected, so that we've in turn been able to protect the public and those that use our services. They've worked tirelessly. They're a very, very small team. They've been out there in the community making sure people know how to wear masks. They have worked tirelessly to ensure that we don't suffer the pandemic at its greatest force. And I know some of us have been on the receiving end of COVID and long COVID, but this team have done an outstanding job, and it's the infection control team. And as you'd expect, they're out there this afternoon continuing to protect. So Deputy Chief Nurse Lynn Andrews will come and receive the award on their behalf.
Just to add, I know the team were here earlier and popped in over lunchtime, but I know they've had to go back out again. Just very busy time still for them. So they were here. Thank you. Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, and our final award this afternoon does not go to a member of staff. Our final award this afternoon goes to somebody that's been here from the very start of Care Plus Group, more than 10 years ago. Somebody that's been instrumental in the governance of this organisation, made a massive contribution to all that we do at Care Plus Group. He's appointed, I think, perhaps 3 chairs, if I'm not correct, and numerous non-executive directors. And I think I can speak for those that have gone before me and those that are with me to say that that scrutiny and pressure was a challenge. This person's a chartered engineer by background, worked all over the world, and I better make sure I've got that right, because he's also a black belt in judo. So I'd like to make our final award to Barry Waby, who is one of our governors. Thank you very much. Okay, we're now at that part of the afternoon where I'm going to invite your Chief Executive, Jane Miller, to give us a presentation. I know Jane's going to share with you some reflections on the past 10 years. And I think I was there 10 years ago too, wasn't I? I think that I was on the Council of Governors then as a staff governor. So from the seat down there to the seat up here to Jane. Okay, over to you, Jane.
Thanks, Paul. It does feel very timely to be stood here, or to be sat here with Paul actually 10 years in. Paul actually was part of the staff focus group that interviewed me. And I started with Care Plus Group in January, February 2011. So it does feel like we've been on quite a journey over the last 10 and something years. But today, what a fabulous day, actually. What a feel-good day. I think more than anything, just for us all to meet again like this, to see one another. Lots of staff have said to me, you know, I've not seen colleagues for, well, probably getting on for 2 years now. So it does feel like a real celebration today. I hope you've had a good day. I hope you enjoyed the business part this morning, and I hope you'll enjoy this afternoon as well. And again, I'd like to add to Paul's thanks for external partners who've joined us this afternoon. Simon from Navigo's here as well, just to add the shout out for Navigo. And thanks to Navigo for the superb lunch. I think you overfaced all of us. It was absolutely lovely. So, in terms of the last 10 years, how can I not mention Val Waterhouse, our chair? Val, for those of us who've been here for 10 years or more, Val was instrumental in the setting up of Care Plus Group. The energy that she showed when we started off, working with the council, working with the NHS, in terms of us spinning out of the NHS, to become a very different organisation. We previously, and for partners who aren't aware of this, we were previously the provider arm of the Care Trust Plus. Many people still around from those times, people like Jane Lewington were also involved in that work at the time, Lance Gardner. As I said a few minutes ago, I joined Care Plus Group January 2011, so I was there just before we went live, about 7 months before we went live. So I feel like I was there right from the start. I came as Deputy Chief Exec to Lance as Chief Exec, and then took over as Chief Exec in 2016. I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's absolutely unbelievable that we've been here. We've made a real success of coming out of the NHS. We've had some challenges along the way, but we've tried things out, we've innovated, we've tried other things out, we've changed things if they haven't worked out. But I think one thing it's fair to say is we haven't stood still. We've changed and we've innovated and we've changed again when we needed to. Again, for those of you who aren't familiar with Care Plus Group, we're a social business, we're a social enterprise. We very much pride ourselves on being based in the local community, and through our endeavours, through our investments, we invest in the local community. And I'll talk a bit more about our charitable arm later on. We are a different organisation, we're employee owned, and the business part of our meeting this morning was about members, so our volunteers, our staff, who have membership of the organisation, voting on changes to our rules. That's how we work. Our councillor governors, our community governors, our staff governors are a key part of what we do and how we run our organisation. And last but not least, right from the outset, we wanted to be different. We set out to have a different culture. We have a very flat structure. We pride ourselves on our engagement as an organisation, our strong partnerships that we have, and I think that's evidenced by colleagues who are taking time out of their busy day and joining us today. So very different from the start. I think what I would also say is that we started at one of the most challenging times perhaps in recent history. 2008, we had the economic crash. We've continued since then to have various ups and downs economically. We've had efficiencies to meet year on year, but we've built the business as well alongside that, and we've seen profits, we've seen businesses develop that we didn't have at the start. In terms of other things along the way, I just wanted to mark some of these really, because it certainly has been quite a 10 years, quite a decade. The Francis Inquiry Report has helped shape healthcare in particular, but health and care substantially. We saw the advent of the 6 C's, the duty of candour, that we work with on a daily basis. Learning disability has continued, unfortunately, to see many national inquiry reports come forward. And we're still struggling with those nationally, but certainly in terms of some of our services, headed up by Dr. Jane Moran, we're delivering some excellent services in that whole area. And we've continued to develop in that whole area, with Navigo developing a new autism service, developing a FOL service, a forensic outreach service, in terms of people with LD and autism. Just some of the highlights, if you like, in terms of marking the decade. Obviously, we've seen COVID. We've been trying to avoid the C word as much as possible today, but we're still living with it. All staff in Care Plus Group and across our health and care system are still very much working with that today, and obviously that's the reason why we've been talking about continued measures today for everybody's safety. But the last 17 months or so have been absolutely exceptional for what our staff have done, what staff from other agencies have done, and how everybody has worked together. We've learned through that. We've developed new ways of working, but we're still working with that today. I think other things that mark the decade out is the increase year on year in terms of demand, in terms of need locally. We know we live in a very and work in a very challenging area in terms of deprivation, and that doesn't make our task any easier actually in terms of the challenges that we face daily. But thanks to all of you, thanks to all our staff, thanks to volunteers and colleagues, we're rising to that challenge. Currently we are in a challenging situation. They're working with the local acute trust at the moment with demand, people coming through the door. But working together as a system, that's the way we believe we can meet the challenge head on. And of course, Brexit. We've lived through Brexit. I'm looking at Neil here, who's been our Brexit guru, I think it's fair to say. We've survived Brexit. I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to headline some of our service developments and initiatives, new ventures that we've done, because we certainly haven't sat down and done nothing. I think when I joined Care Plus Group, none of us had realised that actually what we were setting out to do was establishing a new organisation. And I remember at the start we kept thinking, right, we've done that, we can relax a bit. We've done that, we can relax a bit. But we never quite got to the relaxing bit, and that's continued ever since. We've pushed ourselves. We've developed new things, and these are just some of the headlines here. Some of these are new services, new developments, new businesses. Others are where we've expanded what we do, and I think it's easy to forget over time where we've developed. So our fantastic community cardiology service, and staff from here sitting to my right over there, delivering outstanding services for local people. And we know that because that's what people tell us. That's what other staff tell us. Our community nursing service, when we started off, pretty much finished at 4 o'clock. We then expanded to 8 to 8, 7 days a week, and expanded in terms of staffing. We've continued to work with that service. We're now obviously developing that further with the primary care networks, and so we go forward. We don't stand still. The autism service and the FOL service I mentioned earlier under Dr. Jane Moran. The FOL service, a newer service to us, but that is a very different way of working, a forensic outreach service for those who've at risk of offending or have been involved in offending, requiring new skills, requiring new staff, requiring new ways of working. Underpinning all of this is how we function as Care Plus Group, our values, how we behave, our purpose. That's what knits us all together. The fifth bullet point there, new initiatives. Some of these have been a long time coming, and I think we show our persistence in this. So I'd like to thank John Berry in particular for these developments and the development of Ivy in the community. We first started discussing this, I think, 7-8 years ago, and it's just not been possible to do. We needed the right things to be in place. I'm overjoyed to say that that service started in July. And again, working with the hospital, what that means is we can bring people out earlier. Rather than people occupying a bed in the hospital, we can actually bring them out, work with them in their own homes, in the community, which at the end of the day is what people prefer, and can speed people's recovery journey. Some of our businesses then we've developed, and I do particularly want to mention these because a lot of work lies behind these. These might be bullet points here on this slide, but considerable work has been undertaken by a whole range of colleagues across the organisation to get some of these up and running. So Aston Brook, you may or not know about that, but that was work with some city investors actually who bought up a bunch of care homes, and we worked with them to improve the quality of those care homes. So we had finance involved in that, we had our infection control team involved in that, nurses involved in that, care staff involved in that, and that really was a learning curve for us in terms of doing consultancy work. Really very interesting development. We purchased and developed Linwood, a substance misuse unit in Barnsley. We no longer have that, we did sell that on, but that was another learning experience for us in terms of the purchase of that business. When we started out, we didn't have any GP surgeries, and we took those on over time, Open Door and Quayside. And that's been instrumental to how we work with GPs. We are part of a primary care network, Meridian, because of that. And that takes us into a whole arena that we wouldn't be part of otherwise. So some of these have really been key developments to how we've been able to progress into other areas. Fairways, our local care home that we bought in 2017. And that's not only a long-term residential establishment, it's also used to accept discharge to assess patients from the hospital. So again, what we try and do here is we're trying to support the whole system. This is not just about Care Plus Group looking in a narrow way. It's about how we can work holistically to support the health and care system. F4IT, I'm not going to dwell on because you're going to hear from Dave more eloquently than I can, Dave, in a few minutes. Cambridge Bark, we bought a local care home in January 2020. We had intended to take our time to refurbish that and then develop it into a replacement for our rehab unit, the Beacon. But we were struck by COVID, and so that was just accelerated at pace. And working with the council, and I'd like to give my appreciation to the local council who worked with us on that refurb. Amazingly, in terms of the substantial refurb, that was turned around by NG, the council's partner, in 3 weeks. So it was a fantastic effort for the local situation, helping people recover and be rehabilitated, and at that time directly to meet the challenges of COVID. We've seen new roles, and obviously all of us, we're now familiar with this, with working in a virtual world. We'd always prided ourselves on our digital working, but wow, did it accelerate over the past year. And we want to retain that. We believe that gives us flexibilities. It's a smart way of working and takes us into the future and beyond. So we'll certainly be embracing that going forwards. How it's going, just picking out some headlights here. I just want to give you some figures. So in terms of our volunteers, we have about 250 volunteers, which is absolutely amazing. Those volunteers give freely of their time, their energies. Often they've had an episode in our care in some form, and they want to give something back. We are so appreciative of that time that they take. Our collaboratives, for example, just to give you a measure of that, give us about 10,000 hours every year in terms of their free time. That's absolutely astonishing. And it really expands what we can do with paid staff. We couldn't do what we do without those volunteers. Our charitable trust, we established in 2015. That's grown in strength. There's some really good examples of what that does in our annual report, and I'd recommend our annual report to you if you've not had a chance to read it yet. It's an easy read. It gives some really good examples of what Care Plus Group is and what Care Plus Group is about. But our Care Plus Group Charitable Trust, we set up specifically to actually support the local community. And each year, Care Plus Group Board have agreed a £20,000 grant to go into the charitable trust, and that has gone out into awards to local people, a whole range of things. We've given a grant to the YMCA for a certain provision within the new facility. We've given grants to local community groups to support what they do, whether that's around sports facilities. I know we've given to a local scout group as well to support children's activities in the community. We've given grants for individuals who have particular disabilities and have struggled to get particular types of equipment. We've even, I know, spent money getting somebody out of hospital, where it just seemed the quickest way to support that happening, and that was getting a deep clean of somebody's house. So we will look at whatever comes to us, and we will try and support that. The Val Waterhouse Bursary and the Innovation and Change Fund, again, are internal to us, and these are, again, things that we invest in. The Val Waterhouse Bursary is about us investing in our staff. It's about money to fund developments that there isn't otherwise funding for. And our Innovation and Change Fund is about ideas that staff come up with. We invest £20,000 a year so that staff can make proposals and actually get money back out to actually put new changes into practice that benefit people out there. In terms of our performance, we know we're a good performer. Our customer satisfaction rate is always generally around 95%. For the most recent year, it was 96.75%. So nearly 97%, and we get that from asking people how we did. And that's people who rate us as good or very good in their feedback to us. So that's ultimately our measure of what we do. Our partnerships, again, are extremely important to us. We couldn't do what we do without working in partnership with local colleagues, and that becomes more important as we move forward with the NHS changes, as the CCGs disappear and we work more collaboratively in integrated care partnerships and as part of bigger integrated care systems. I'm now just going to talk briefly about employability. We obviously had Sharon Stead, who heads up that service, up here on stage just a few minutes ago. And I just want to reflect on employability as an example of, I've called it capturing the spirit of Care Plus Group, because it's not just what we do, it's how we do it. But I think employability is a particularly good example of that. And I do just want to give you some stats and some figures to reflect that. So for those of you who don't know, employability has two parts. It has employability, the employability service itself, which works with people generally who are not in education, training and employment. And then we also have the supported employment aspect of employability services, which supports people with disabilities into employment. And just in terms of, to give you a measure of what employability service has done over time, they've supported over 2,000 local residents of all ages into employment. They've supported over 250 individuals into further training and higher education. Supported employment, ongoing, support a large number of people with disabilities in our local communities and with local employers. So we work with a whole range of people. Supported employment has an employment success rate of 83%, which is absolutely mind-boggling, really, in terms of some of the challenges that we have to overcome with working with local employers. Employability are never satisfied to just stop there. I think that's what I would say. And it's back to this innovating and adapting. I said to Sharon, what's your secret? And that's what she told me. It's a holistic approach that they do. You might think, well, that's not really health and care delivery, but it enables Care Plus Group to give a much more holistic, deliver a much more holistic approach in what we do. And we work right across from young people through to any age, basically. So there's no age limit put on it. Again, they collaborate, strong delivery, as I've described, but just coming back to, they're not content just to rest there. It's constantly pushing forward. So Paul did mention, we're really proud of Sharon and the team's expansion into Sussex. They're actually now the gateway employer for Kickstart for the Sussex ICS and employing Kickstart employees who are going to be working on the third wave of the vaccination programme down there. And just to reflect on that, it's not very often that people, businesses, services from Grimsby are advising, working with, delivering services down in Sussex. So I think that's a real compliment for the whole borough, actually. Kickstart's being delivered not just in North East Links, but also North Links as well. Other developments, I've got on there the Northern Lincolnshire University Technical Centre. And as Paul said, we've got 3 young women who are part of the cohort there. I'm so pleased you could meet us. I'm so pleased you could come along. And Jenny, who's one of our key contacts from there. We're now linked with the UTC as a core industry partner. And we're really proud and pleased to be associated with the UTC. We're up there with some really big names locally. So just to give you a measure of that, the likes of Phillips 66, Tromox, we're up there. Our name is in lights on the side of the building with these companies. So it's a fantastic achievement for us. The Year 11 and Tutor Group, again, there's been a naming of one as Care Plus Group. And for those of you who don't know, the UTC started off as an engineering setup, but Sharon and colleagues again have worked with the UTC to develop a health and care facility within that. And the 3 young women who are here today are part of that health and care curriculum. So good luck to all of you in your studies. I'm sure you'll do well. I'm going to end there. I think I probably have gone over time a bit, sorry. I usually do. I try and contain myself, but it's difficult. There's a lot to talk about. Finally, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you to staff. Thank you to volunteers. Thank you to our hard-working new chair. Good to be working with you, Paul. Our non-executives, including Ray, who's come in new. To our staff governors, and particularly to our staff and volunteers. Thank you to all of you. We couldn't do this without you. And I look forward to another 10 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for that foray into our past 10 years. I'm sure I had a thinner waistline and more hair when we started, but there you go. And I think Jane has really brought to life there, hasn't she, the breadth of stuff that we do and the amount of work that we get through. And I think she's absolutely right in saying that without you, we wouldn't be here. So to echo Jane's thanks on behalf of the board, I thank each and every one of you. Thank you. So the next speaker this afternoon has told me that he's now adjusted his CV to say warm-up act to Chris Akabusi. We're going to hear from Dave Whitfield, one of your own, one of our own, from F for IT, who's going to take us on the journey of F for IT. And I think what we take away from this morning is, as a wholly owned subsidiary, just how productive that organisation has become. I'm really proud of it. And again, something that we perhaps all take for granted, isn't it? That we reach out and there's a phone, that we reach out, there's a computer, you sit at your desk and there it is. I think today is the only day that somebody hasn't said to me, "You're on mute, you're frozen." So they've worked incredibly hard to make sure that we've been able to carry on working through the pandemic, and they've worked really, really hard, I know, with care homes and places like that to get that accessibility and connectivity. And I know Dave will touch more on that. He's a fellow Grimsby Town supporter. They're getting more and more. We'll be soon in the Premiership as I'm being wheeled around Grimsby in my bath chair. Okay, over to you, Dave.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I was asked to deliver this presentation, and I was like, yeah, no problem. Absolutely not a problem delivering public speaking and delivering a presentation to people. And then they said, by the way, it'll be at the auditorium. You have a light on you, a microphone, and it'll be filmed. So I did try my best to get out of it, but I have been lumbered with it. So I'll do my best. I'll whiz through and give you a bit of an update on what we're doing with IT, where we started, how we came to fruition, and sort of what we're doing in the future. So I'll not bore you too long, because I know not everyone's interested in IT, but hopefully this will give you a bit of an update on what we've done and where we're going. So to start off, basically the first contact was made with us back in 2012. I'll just turn to the side because that's not really working, is it? So back in 2012, Care Plus approached. There was myself, Dean and Darren, and basically said, IT is not quite working for us, so we want to look at putting something in place and having our own internal IT department. So we thought, yeah, no problem, we'll have a go at that. We'll jump in and we'll try and set up an IT service from scratch. As an IT provider or as an IT professional, it's not very often you get a chance to be able to set up a service from the ground up and to be able to do it just from nothing really, and actually start from the beginning. So it was a fantastic opportunity to actually set something up and get it right for the organisations that we're going to support. So there was lots of meetings taking place, a lot of them round kitchen tables. I'm looking over at Neil because he nodded at me earlier when I mentioned that. Evening meetings, sat around a table with a cup of coffee trying to work out how we're going to do things and how we're going to get things set up. So there was a lot of work went in out of hours to try and get this sorted. So to then actually see it come about and actually set up as a service, I think for the ones that were originally setting things up, we was very proud of being involved in that and actually proud to be able to get something off the ground. So lots and lots of planning went in place. There was loads of things that we had to look at in terms of setting up the infrastructure, the networks, the servers, but just as importantly, the amount of times we used to my laptop's dead slow, it takes ages to get set up. we wanted to get that bit right as well. So it was really important that we got the planning absolutely spot on. And hopefully, touch wood, we think we've done all right. No one's throwing anything at me just yet, so I think we've passed that test. I've got Annie Darby putting a thumbs up down here, so it's passed that seal of approval. So I think we've done okay there. Recruitment came about, so we had a chance to actually bring in some new members of staff, which was really nice. So we brought in Rob, Omar, Alan and Ashley, who's sat somewhere. So a little nod to Ashley, because Ashley was part of the original setup as well, so don't want to forget Ashley, and Mel as well. And then we went live in 2013 and actually set up, and we're live and actually delivering the service to you guys. So what makes us different? I have to apologise about the very dodgy photo. There's quite a lot of legs on show there, some of them better than others. The reason we put that photo up there is because we are different. We like to try and operate differently as a team. We all get on, we're all friends, we're all mates in the work environment as well, and it makes for a really happy work environment. And because of that, we do things like go and get drunk in Lincoln for the day. So I make no apologies for that. It was a fantastic day out. Tom's squirming in his chair, and I'm not sure why. But what we wanted to do, we wanted to try and change the service and change how we delivered IT and do things in a different way compared to the other IT services that you might have worked with. People laugh at me because I bang on all the time about customer service, but to me, it's so important, and to everybody in the team, it's incredibly important that we get that right, that we look after you and we treat you as customers. We treat you and put you first to make sure that we're able to provide a service that you're happy with. So for us, being friendly, approachable, having a sense of humour, as you can see, I'm dead funny. It's really important. Actually, when you phone IT, it's important to be able to phone up and get somebody nice on the end of the phone who will actually talk to you and have a laugh. I'm looking at Lucy. We wanted to be reliable, wanted stable and reliable networks. We wanted it to work. Is there anything worse than you trying to provide a service, you're trying to go and see a patient and you need access to a patient record and it's taking you half an hour to get onto your laptop and it doesn't work? So for us, it was very important that we gave you a reliable service as well. We wanted it to be accessible, so things like answer times on the phones, being able to get through to us really quickly. We focused on things like that so it worked, so that you was able to get through to the service without any issues. We also wanted to understand our customers, and I think that was really important. So I do think back to when we very first set up and we went out supporting the community nurses, giving laptops to those guys, going out, visiting the staff and actually going into patients' homes with them. Really interesting. It was a massive eye-opener for some of our staff. I think it might have been Ashley and Mel that actually visited a site with somebody, took one look and one sniff of a leg ulcer, turned green and then had to walk out again. So it turns out us IT staff haven't got the stomach for dealing with some of the things that you nurses have. But it was an eye-opener because I think if we understand what you do as a job, then it makes a difference in how we deliver that service. And you go to some of the services that you guys operate and you deliver day to day, and they're absolutely fantastic and so important to so many people. I think us just being able to support IT in a small way, it's really good that we can understand how we can do it. And non-for-profit, so any money that we make, it's not coming to us to then drive around in flash cars and go on nice holidays. I can assure you of that it's definitely no nice holidays. The money's reinvested back into Care Plus Group, so the money that we're making is actually back into the business, put back into the services that you provide. So we're not lining our pockets, we're trying to actually make the money to actually reinvest back into helping you guys. So just a bit of a timeline to give you an idea of who we support and how that's happened over the last 8 years. You can see there at the top, Care Plus Group in 2013 when we very first set up. But you can see as we go down through the years the number of different organisations that we've taken on and that we now provide IT support to. It's expanded and it's expanded quickly over the 8 years. But what we've made sure we've done, we don't want to expand too quick. We never want to be able to do too much. When we get to the position where we're trying to support too many people and your service lowers and we don't offer the same level of service that we're proud of, at that point we've got a problem. So as you can see, we now support tons of different customers, a variety of different customers across the board, mainly healthcare, but you'll see as you get towards the bottom, we're now looking to start trying to provide IT services to the private world as well. So there's just a bit of a graphic to show the number of devices that we support and how that's changed over the years. So back in 2013, it was about 600 devices, that's in terms of desktops and laptops. And now when you look and you fast forward to 2021, you're probably talking closer to 2,000 devices and then an extra 1,500, something like that, mobile phones and tablets on top. So we are busy, we're not just sat there twiddling our thumbs, promise. So a bit of a meet the team. So for those of you who haven't seen some of our dodgy mugs, you might speak to us on the phone but have never actually met us in person. There's some very ropey looking photos up there. We've got Darren, who's our director. We've got Dean, who can be seen in the flesh down there. And as we can see, he's a very photogenic person. We've got Rob down there as well. A quick hello, and obviously yours truly up on stage. The technical team, we've got Omar. I think Omar is probably the most famous IT technician in the world. Absolutely everybody loves Omar. And Omar's getting a round of applause. I've just got to say, at the point where I mentioned my name, nobody clapped. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's it. So I was waiting for at least one whoop, and then it came. So our technical team, we've got Omar and we've got Ian. So Ian refuses to take his orange cap off. I don't know what's going on underneath the cap, but he pretty much wears it all the time, and we've just given up asking him. So it's his bit of a trademark that he does wear his orange hat, so we let him keep it on all the time now. And the customer service team, these are the guys that you speak to when you phone through and you speak to the service desk. So we spoke to Alan, we've got Andy, who's always on the phone, we've got the lovely Ben down there, and we've got Timmy, who's one of our latest recruits. If you've spoken to Timmy, he's very bubbly, probably the most bubbly person I've ever met, which at 8:30 on a Monday morning is sometimes difficult, but he's an extremely bubbly person, so he's brilliant to have around. So we've got some new staff members. We've got Andrew Orton, who started with the team. Really nice chap, and he's got some good experience. And I've got Tom up there, because Tom... So some of you knew that Tom had left the organisation a few weeks ago, but he got the opportunity to come back. We missed him that much, and I think he missed us as well. So absolutely delighted to have Tom back in the team, and Tom's come back and he's started back in his first full week with us this week. So if you see him, give him a jab in the ribs, because we're not very happy that he left in the first place. So here's some quick achievements that we're proud of that we've been involved in over the last 8 years. So the pandemic support, I know we're not allowed to mention the C word, but it was a big piece of work that was involved in. Probably in terms of service desk calls, a 50% increase in terms of our help desk calls every day. I've seen a few confused faces. I think I might need to mention what the picture's about. We did a lot of Zoom calls. You know what Zoom calls can be like. They can be the same old thing. They can be a bit boring, a bit monotonous. You have to make an effort and put your makeup on in the morning, which is terrible. So on a Friday tea time, we try and jazz it up, and we did have a fancy dress Zoom call with the team. I looked dashing. It was not Shrek, Monsters Inc. And Dan basically raided his kid's toy box and just wore whatever he could get his hands on. So yeah, we did try and make it interesting. I think Dean makes a very handsome He-Man as well, as you can see. We did roll out tons of mobile devices such as laptops and mobile phones. Really made a big difference to how we supported you guys and actually what you could do working from home. We gave you access to a centralised phone system, and the biggest part of that was allowing services such as Spa, whether it be option 1, 2 or 3, to be able to carry on operating and actually still deliver that service from home. And as we've mentioned, Zoom and team meetings have become a massive part of everyone's day-to-day lives now. We used to be scared of them before. Nobody wanted to do them, did they? Nobody wanted to go on camera. But as soon as we worked out you didn't have to put your trousers on and you only had to get your top half dressed, it's an absolute winner. The day when Simon stood up and I saw him in his boxer shorts. But it's definitely it's a game changer because it now means that you can have a meeting with somebody from across the country without having to have a 4-hour drive, and it makes a huge difference. I think everyone's embraced it, and I do think it's now part of our day-to-day lives, isn't it? So the Service Desk Awards, we were nominated for a Small Service Desk of the Year award. Again, Ashley making an appearance over there. It was a really nice day. We got to go to Birmingham, red carpet event. I'll not mention how drunk anyone got in the team. It's not something we make a habit of doing. But it was a fantastic evening. As part of the event, we were asked to create a video. We had to do like a 2-minute video of like that would demo our service, and they wanted it to be funny. Ashley's hiding, don't worry, it's not being played. Oh, it's a shocker, it's a shocker. So we get there and we're with Service Desk like Sky Bet. They had Jeff Stelling from Soccer Saturday as part of their video, filmed with like HD cameras. Ours looked like it had been filmed with a Nokia 3210. Because it probably was. It was like, people going, that looks like it's been filmed on a camera phone, and was like, yeah, there's a reason why it looked that dodgy. We'd cobbled it together in about half an hour before doing some phone calls, but it was a rendition of us singing an Adele song. If you've not seen it, it is available on Facebook somewhere, but I'm not making a massive push to get you to go and look at it. Me and Dean was watching it the other day, and he went, I can't put that in, it's that bad. It really is. So yeah, something we're really proud of. Care home connectivity is something that we spent a lot of time on, getting our care homes connected and getting set up to work as part of our network. It now allows health professionals to go into a care home and access a System 1 record. It allows them to have Wi-Fi access. It allows them to have hospital discharge summaries. A lot of the things that we spoke to the care homes about said the struggle when a resident gets dropped off from hospital on a Friday evening and they haven't got access to any discharge summaries or know what medication changes they've had. Us putting this connectivity in now has given those care homes access to a discharge summary of what's happened during that resident's stay in hospital. Really important, really maintains patient safety and allows them to be able to deliver a safe service, really. And we've also given them access to NHS Mail. So we've got the lovely Omar up there again, so no round of applause this time, his head will get too big. We have distributed over 500 tablets to care homes. This was mainly over the pandemic, but it was definitely some sort of work going on before that as well. And this was around giving the residents access to their care, so they're able to still be in touch with the GP via video call, but also to be able to keep in touch with friends and family, which I think is really important. So the SPA phone system was something that we put in place, and that's allowed all of our services that access the SPA service, such as SPA option 1, 2 and 3. We've put a new phone system in which allows you all to work from home. We mentioned it earlier, but it's been a massive help. It now means that you've got staff that might be working 2 hours away that can work from home, don't have to come into the office, and they're able to actually change the way they work. So those services being able to stay up and running during the pandemic was really, really important. And we've got some new offices. So some of you have hopefully visited the new IT offices and have seen where we've moved to. It's been brilliant. We've managed to get moved in January. I'd like to, thank you to Care Plus for supporting us, for helping with that transition and get us moved in, because I think it was really important to us as an organisation. We've been able to set up so that it's specific to how we deliver a service. It allows us to be marketable and allows us to be more visible to private industries, and it's given us a space that really works for us and actually is able to allow us to deliver the service properly. And we've also implemented a new booking system which allows us to get you guys to book in as and when you need to come and see us. I mean, we did love Lucy dropping in all the time, but it's, at least we can lock the door and not let her in now. Only joking. So we have got, and thanks to Ben from IT over there for his fancy video editing skills, we've just put together a very quick video to show you what the new offices look like. brief, but it is really good. Ben has been like faffing about on his phone, and I was like, what's he doing? And he's going around filming us, and I think this is going to get him in trouble in a minute if he keeps filming everyone. But he came up with this, and he did this in his own time, and he did his own editing on that video, and actually came up with this to make it something that we could show to people. So it's just a first dabble at us doing something different, and actually we've got a skill there that we didn't realise we had in the team. So now it's something we want to encourage and actually develop, and let's not hold someone like Ben back who's got the ability to do that. Let's encourage him to do other bits as well. So he's taking bookings, and he'll come and do some video editing. No weddings, I don't think, but if he's skint, he might do. So the future of IT, so we'll just give you a bit of an understanding as to what's next. So private customers are something that we're looking at. So we've taken on, cheers Dean, private customers. So Mark Stewart Transport are our first private customer. They're a small customer in a lot of ways. They've only got about 4 or 5 computers, but we're looking after a first private client that's not healthcare, but healthcare based. So we're learning lessons, we're going along, trying to work out how they operate as a service, but it's allowing us to expand the business that we deliver, I suppose. A training service, we are looking at potentially providing IT training over the coming year. It's something that when we first set up 8 years ago, it was missing, and we've never been able to sort of have the capacity to deliver, but it is something we're now looking at, which hopefully they'll be interesting across the organisation. And can we use technology to enable care? So as we've said about using Zoom and using Teams from home, that's something that I think we need to look at more and see if we can help people, our clients, and help people that we support in the community. I think there's a lot we can do, and I think if there's anything that you think we can support with, tablets given to patients and things like that, then please let us know, because it's something that we're willing and looking to try and support. And let's not forget, we want to look after our existing customers. So we want to look after Care Plus, we want to look after Navigo. We don't want to expand and run before we can walk, as we've said. We want to keep supporting you guys and making sure that the service we deliver is still as good as what we started to deliver 8 years ago. And that's it. Basically, a quick thank you from everyone at F4. It does make our job a lot easier to be able to deliver the service that we do, because let's be honest, everyone's dead lovely. We've just had Andrew start. He started with us about 2 weeks ago, and he said, I've not had anyone on the phone that's been horrible yet. So carry on, you're doing really well. But genuinely, it makes a massive difference, because people are really nice. It actually means that when you pick the phone up, you get to speak to someone that's lovely. We get to help you out, we get to provide a decent service, and you don't think we're too bad. So all in all, I think it works out all right. But we couldn't do our job without you, and I don't think you guys could do some of what you do without us. So hopefully we carry on working together, and we'll all still get on.
I can't work out whether this leg is getting slower or this stage is getting wider, but that journey is beginning to feel a long way. Thanks, Dave, for that. I think really a fantastic example of an acorn growing into an oak tree, and just what importance that we value IT. It's crucial, isn't it, to the world that we live in now. And I think it's one of those things like payroll. It happens, but by God, when it stops happening, we're always on the phone, aren't we? So we look forward to F4 IT's future growth, and thank you for sharing your vision of the future with us. Just before we move into our break, we've got a little bit of money to give away. So we tasked our new non-executive director and community governor with finding our marketplace store winner. If you could just tell us who that is, please. So it's, and then a random one out of the audience, isn't it? So, I don't know who that is, but somebody does. Neil, I think, and then Sylvia does. Yeah. Yeah. So if we could ask somebody to come up from Day Services, please, because they was trying to make me go on their dance mat and force my other limb to be replaced, but I think you've all had a little go on.
And Paul, it's very difficult, because both me and Jane, the new governor down there, we were very impressed with the overall quality and diversity of the offer. and very much based around caring.
There you go.
Well done. Congratulations.
Well done. Sylv, have you got... Yes, please.
These two are then the raffle
That's
call
right,
that
yeah.
people were given tickets for.
So I think Sylv is going to come up and help us choose somebody, a couple of people at random. Don't go away, Sylv, I don't know where you're going. Help.
Sylvia's going in the opposite direction.
Sylv, we're over here. Yeah, okay, right. She's organised. Arsenal supporter, you see, ever optimist. So the next two, I think, are £50 vouchers, and we're going to just choose at random somebody, a couple of people from within the body of the audience that has been here today.
It's your raffle tickets. All staff were given raffle tickets when you came in.
Shout it out, Annie, for us, or Sylv.
Shall I go down to that?
6060. Suspiciously close to my age next year. Somebody from down there, cardiology. Yeah, lovely, thank you. And another one. Thank you, Sylv, for doing that. We're just now going to move into the coffee break then. Just wait for our colleague to come up and receive her prize. Okay, I think we've captured that. Coffee time. Please be back in your seats promptly for our keynote speaker this afternoon. Thank you very much. And that's at 2:45 back, please.